Everyone, it's week 23 on the Aquaponics project here. Again, I don't have any updates this week, so I'm just going to run everyone through what I do with the system to check it throughout the week, make sure everything's running okay. Usually the first place I go to, I just want to make sure there's no dead fish. That's my first priority. Obviously when I walk into the shed I can see all my plants here are growing quite well. I can see right at the bottom of the tank, so it's not murky, it's quite clean. I can see water coming out both the clarifier here and the overflow, the drainage from the beds, so I know it's all running properly. My little pH meter here. First thing I'll do is pH test. That's running about 6.8 declining, 6.9, 7, that's neutral. And it's going slightly towards the alkali as it usually does, which means I know that means that all the plants have eaten the nutrients at the moment. I ate my first capsicum from these the other day, and got one. I found another one the same size behind it. I've got 2, 3, I've got 4, at least another 4 little capsicums growing in here. Yeah, there's a huge one there. And another 5, 6, 7 capsicums, 8 capsicums, 9 capsicums. 9 capsicums growing here, 10, 11, so quite a few more on this side. So I know they eat quite a bit each time. Yeah, I got this new fish food. It's an Aquaponics grow mix. I got this from Totally Tanked. It's the provider I got for this stuff here on eBay. I got it as a sinking fish food for the bottom feeders I got in the tank here. So I give them. Yeah, they got a bit of floating food still left on the surface here, so I'm going to feed the little guys some sinking food while I'm at it. Just to make them happy here. This. I like to have a little fun and freak them out, try and land the food on them, since that's the only excitement I have all week. And then I have a bucket here, just a vinyl tube. I don't have myself a durable filter yet. I don't have one of those fancy filters, one of the fancy pumps for the siphoning out of the water. But this happens to fit very nice and neatly into the end of the grow beds there, which then starts sucking out the water at a very high rate when it actually starts to flow. Inevitably it will. There we go. The siphon working. So what I like to do, just siphon out well, I've actually been doing this quite a bit, so I know the water in the compost bin is fairly dilute. There's not a lot of potassium left in it, there's not a lot of sulfur in it, and there's not a lot of the other additives. There's a fairly moderate amount of compost still in there, but a lot of the nutrients that are in it have already been washed through. So I'll add a bit more water than I ordinarily would this time. Not flowing in for some reason. Come on. Why is it going slow? How much water is going to clarify here? I do actually have a set of controls here, so what I'll do is I'll just I got this tap there, there we go. So what I just did was divert the overflow from the tanks going into the beds from going to the clarifier, and I put more through to the drainage line. As you can see, that's now running out much more aggressively. And that's just about half a bucket there. I'll just drain this wine. I'll leave the light on. I have a habit of leaving that on too long. So this is my compost bin here, which is plumbed directly into the drainage line, more than the clarifier over there. So this goes straight to the tank and disseminates before it goes to the bed. I use quite a bit of sugar. This fell in the water the other day, so it's quite wet. Sugar is anyone with any sort of science background or any sort of chemistry background or any sort of knowledge of plants will know cellulose. Basic building blocks of plants is basically sugar. So that's what they use to build their structures, etc. So sugar's quite, I quite like it. You have instead of plants or whatever else, you can see it's very solid sugar now. You have flowers in a floral arrangement in a vase. You can put sugar with them to prolong the blooming. With plants, it's like a steroid. They love that stuff. Makes them grow very rapidly. Again, I don't have a proper siphoning system at the moment, so I'll just pick this on here. So that's got no naked stuff on it. And quickly start draining that into. This has got a whole heap of weeds in it, potassium, sulfur, and I add a few other things. While I'm here, I check if the fish tank water is quite dirty, which it is in this little tank here. You can see it's fairly brown. I don't have any auto siphoning systems on this at the moment. I don't have any cleaning, so this is purely I drain it off and I put the fresh water in. I've got the other inlet lines fallen over the back. You can just see it here. That one's supposed to come across to this tank, and this one here for this tank. I'm not going to turn that on right now because that's hooked up to the compost tank above it, which would be quite nasty for these guys because the amount of solution that would come through would be too much for them to handle. So as I drain this in, that extradites the process of all the nutrients from being stagnant and such while I was adding them. Extradites them over to the other side of the setup there, into that barrel, where the little fish and everything else I know really don't like it. There we are, now we're having a hard time siphoning. I like that approach, but I also sometimes when I siphon fish tanks end up with a bucket full of little bits of that coloured gravel. Since that hasn't really been a problem at the moment. Careful, back in here. Just want to make sure no mould ends up in here. So now I can see it's a very golden runoff. There's the fish tank here. These little fish come to the surface when these little brown denios and gudgeons come to the surface. You can see this is a very dark, much darker colour, orangey yellow, with all the compost and nutrients compared to the clear stuff coming out of the. Wow, there's a really lot of water going through that bell side. Going over the top of it. This air seal here. Might just change that flow ratio a little bit. I'll make sure the. That's good. Each week when I come out, I make sure if it's overcast, I turn the lights on. I make sure that the taps here, that there's water actually flowing out of both of them. Sometimes the sugar and nutrients and such finds its way through the pipes and ends up blocking them up. These were just an experiment. That's supposedly a sunflower. Basically was never going to work. I got 3 little tiny sunflower-ish. Can you focus on those? Sort of seeds. If you click on it on the screen, it'll should focus on. No. Again, very disappointed with Google's software. I dropped the camera and it. I noticed in one of them it didn't flip back up the right way when I picked up the camera when I held it upside down. I suppose that's sort of like a setting you might want to do. I don't know. But basically, that sunflower, that was never a sunflower. It was only an experiment. What I do with things like this, there's no way that's going to be useful, so I might as well put that in the compost to go through the system. And I'll check how much root growth it's got on it. Oh wow. So that was growing for quite a number of weeks, and the amount of root growth it has is that. I have noticed that everything I've de-rooted in here has ended up more or less with very little roots, because it gets the nutrient very readily, very easily in the scoria, or if you're an American, lava rock. It gets the nutrient very easily from it, and it's all sitting in the little pockets of it. It's always flowing through, so nothing puts out extensive root systems in these tubs that I'm growing. And the other sunflower I've got doing a little better. Again, it's all dead. It's more tangled up in there, and it put out 5 heads. But yeah. And then the final thing I do after it's all finished settling through, I might come back out later and do another pH test. The temperature's stuck around the 20 degree mark all week. It's currently 20 degrees dead on from what I can see. So the temperature's been fairly stable, but this week we were expecting a lot of minus temperatures, and now we can't see the bottom of the tank quite brown. If it were to stay like that for more than an hour or two, I'll be quite concerned, but I highly doubt it. You can see you get a big rush of water through from the drainage system, and it dribbles, and this is pumping in, flows from the flat valves like it should be. So that's all working fine. I'll quite have to leave that for another week. And then I'll just top up the nutrients in the compost container and add them gradually. Alright guys, I hope that all helps out with anyone that's wondering how I do my average maintenance. I still do have some things which I've already paid for to put in the system, which I haven't gotten around to. But a lot of other projects I'm doing. But yeah, I'll try to keep the videos regular. I realised I missed one last week. Apologies for that. I left my phone in Canberra. That's the only camera I have.